Donna. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm so sorry. I was in panic mode. Absolute panic mode. Yeah, so we've sorted it. I'm so, and it's so me. It's so me to do this stuff. So I apologise. I'm not good at it. So I'm here.
Okay,
so I'm sorry to talk about sleep.
No, that's okay. That's totally fine. I think, thankfully, about 500 people have maintained their attention for the 12 minutes I've been rabbiting on about the things that I've been doing. So I'm very keen to actually get some professional advice from you.
Okay,
so many
I can't
questions.
wait.
So many questions have come in, and so many people. I know you helped Heidi so much with her Sleep with Memphis. So I might start with the questions, and then we can move through to maybe some of the common issues that we've been having as well. We were just talking then about sleeping in a dark room. So when Molly was young, we made sure that she slept in the lounge room and slept sort of everywhere so that she was used to it. But now I try and put her in a dark room to sleep. What's your recommendation for that? Should you during the day have them anywhere?
When they're newborn, they can sleep anywhere, really, up to about 4 weeks and things start to change. But biologically, we like to sleep better in the dark. They're going to sleep better in the dark. 100%. When it's sleep time, it needs to be dark. So we talk about for babies with catnapping and going through sleep cycles and waking, it needs to be dark. So people then worry, they're going to get used to the dark, but you're going to be at home 90% of the time, or wherever they're going to be, they're going to be
100% of the time.
100% of the time at the moment. So absolutely pitch black, no dreaming lights or anything like that. They don't need it. It allows them to go in and out of sleep cycles and possibly go back to sleep rather than wake up because there's light. The other thing is the circadian rhythm is in the morning. When the cortisol starts to increase and the sun pops in, biologically, we're going to wake up. So for babies, we're trying to support them, guide them, teach them, and sort of not trick their bodies, but allow them to sleep in the best environment that they can. So yes, dark. Like I said, first month, not a problem, but when you want to get out and about, you practice. So if, again, you're home all the time, 100% of the time, it's a good time to focus on sleep. Absolutely dark. But what I say to my clients is practice. If you want to have your baby be able to sleep in a pram, practice in the pram. If you want your baby to sleep in a porta cot, practice in the porta cot. Everything around sleep, I think is a priority, but you still have flexibility with that. So I know you were talking about a program that you had started where you wake the baby. Absolutely not, ever. The only time you wake a baby is if they're sleeping too much, like, not getting enough feeds during the day or underweight, or, there's an issue that you have to wake them, or you've got to leave the house. It's the only time. I would never, ever wake a sleeping baby unless
she had this look on her face like, what the hell are you doing to me?
I know.
Claire was asking about feeding to sleep, because this is something that I do. And I quite like it too. Am I making a rod for my own back there? And Claire was asking too, can you do it? Can you keep doing it?
And I always say, nothing you do is wrong. Nothing. Being a mum and loving your baby and providing that love, and you like doing it, nothing is wrong. When it comes to sleep, and you're going to talk to me as a sleep specialist, I hate saying a rod for back. I don't like using all of those terms. She will get used to that. So if you're her teacher, because Molly's 3 months, is she? Yeah, so you do whatever you like and you're happy with it. That's the most important thing, that mum and bub are happy. But when it comes to sleep, what you've got to think about, particularly around now, is how do you want her to end up sleeping? So say you like her feeding to sleep, then maybe one time in the day you try to put her in a snoo and you sit near her and you offer other support other than the breast. Because what you've got to think is, if she, by the time, she's 8 months or bigger, would you still want to be doing that? Because it will be the only way that she can go to sleep. So I always reading about sleep because I love it. But one thing that I just read of recent was, it's a bit like as they get bigger. So over 6 months of age, they're adult-like in their sleep patterns. So you think about our sleep. And if someone had to put you to sleep every night and you had to rely on someone to put you to sleep, how frustrating that would be, So you've got to think a little bit in the future, but not too much. So that's how I look at it, is if that's how she's been put to sleep, that is how she's always going to need to be put to sleep. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely does make sense. Another sleep expert was just commenting that she disagreed with the waking up, that she thinks that at certain times of the day they should be woken up. So that's what you're saying, I guess, in the latter half of the day, if they're having a really long sleep, that's probably going to compromise their nighttime sleep. So maybe in that situation, if they're sleeping for too long, you might wake them up.
That's right. And that's what I did actually say, that you know, again, when people are working with me, absolutely. The two times you wake them up is if they're sleeping too long, or if it's the time of the day, say they've had two really, like it's a 6-month-old baby that's had 2 really good sleeps, then yes, of course you'd wake them up at the end of the day, you know, at maybe 30 minutes, you know, but waking a baby in the beginning of the day or at 30 minutes or lunchtime 30 minutes, absolutely, I wouldn't. But that's, again, how I teach, you know.
Particularly if it's taken you 90 minutes to get them to sleep in the first place.
Yeah, and I've had lots, that's right. And I've had lots of clients that obviously have used a program that wake, and it was very distressing for them because it took them that long to get them to sleep. So, yeah, anyway, but each to their own. But for me, I wouldn't wake, only if needed. And again, it's hard to sort of comment on everybody when I'm talking like this because
of course,
it's so specific
it's all
general.
It's all general advice.
Yeah,
also, with lots of people have been asking this. Kate was asking, what about, you know, they have these 40-minute sleep cycles. When they wake up after the 40-minute sleep cycle, should you be trying to settle them back down? I can find with Molly, she will legitimately sleep that 40 minutes and then that's it. There's no point trying to settle her back down because you can spend another 40 minutes trying to get her back to sleep.
That's right. So again, I can only reflect when I'm working with people. Cat napping is a real thing. It happens to all babies. It's developmental and it's going to happen. What I would suggest, without being too stressed about it, is you'd like them to sleep more than 40 minutes. So without being stressed about it, go and sit beside her, you know. So you know it's like a body clock. It is absolutely, you could time it to an alarm clock, you know, 40 minutes, 45. If you want to, you go and you sit with her and you rub her belly, rub her eye, you know, her face, or, you know, give her the effort to try to put her back. And if it doesn't work, get her up. Start the wake time from when she woke. So that is so personal, but it'd be great if they, again, be able to link cycles. But if it's too stressful, don't do it. They're still getting 40 minutes, you know, but then start the wake time from when they've woken.
So Brooke was asking here about settling times. She said it's hard to get her baby to sleep before 10 p.m. We actually follow a routine where we give her a bath quite late. Mm-hmm. And I suppose our dream feed is just the final feed before she goes to bed. It's a formula feed so that, you know, she sort of lasts as long as possible throughout the night. Yeah. Let's talk about the dream feed. Is that a good thing to do? Do you recommend that? And also, talk about sleep deprivation. I forgot what I was going to say. Is that when should you start moving them towards, say, like a 6 p.m. bedtime? Because our advice was that no baby will sleep from 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. straight away. So you sort of stagger it and put them to bed a bit later.
Sure. So dream feed. I absolutely did that with my children. I have 3 girls and it worked a treat. But I did sort of sleep support when they were born, and that's not sleep training. That is regular breastfeeds, you know, hard on that. So the dream feeds worked beautifully. So we'd have one at night and they'd sleep 3 till 7, and I did that to about 7-8 months. But I am a certified sleep sense consultant, and I adore what I do, and it's as gentle as we can. But I'm still affiliated with her. Will not do dream feeds. She's a no, and I keep going, really. So what I say to that is, if it works, absolutely do it. But what she says is it can interrupt where they are in the sleep cycle. So if it works, don't change it. If it's not working and they're still waking up quite a lot after, then I just wait till they naturally wake. So so getting back to her age, what you want to start looking at is about a 12-hour day, 12-hour night. And so again, we talk about the circadian rhythm and the right amount of time that you've got the melatonin sort of help, that sleepy hormone, is you wanted to try to get to bed late, so like 8:30 ish, you know, and then when she wakes, give her that bottle, because she might actually wake. She might actually do a big stint of like 5-6 hours rather than
she tends to wake up at 3 ish in the morning.
Yes, and so you do a dream feed about 10:30?
No, we just put her to bed
Oh,
late,
great. Awesome.
and then we wake up quite late.
Okay, yeah, great. And that's fine too. Absolutely fine.
I don't get out of bed till 9 o'clock, probably.
Great. That's winning. That's awesome. And so don't change it. You know, like that's working for you. That's great, is what I say. But again, just sort of as a sleep specialist, with the knowledge that I have, is again, when I work with people, is we try to get the 12 hours with optimum amount of night, really. So, but if that's working for you, which it sounds it is, don't change it at all.
Well, I'd rather not be waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm not sure if that's classified as working for me. But anyway, yes, it's okay for now.
So, yeah, I know. And so is she only having that one feed?
Yeah. So she'll go to bed about 10 o'clock. She'll wake up at 3:30, generally speaking, and then she'll wake up again about 6.
That's awesome. Well, that's one feed, so that's really good. So as she gets a bit older, and she'll either start naturally sort of extending that. She might wake at 4, and then you sort of gauge her on that and say, well, she did that last night, so maybe if she wakes again at 3, you go in and offer that support, like hands-on, trying to get her through to the 4 o'clock, that sort of thing, and they stretch it out naturally. So
I actually let an arm out last night on the advice, and that was amazing. It made such a difference to just have one arm that she could bite and kind of self-settle a bit. So I can see lots of people saying that they have kids the same age as Molly, so maybe try the one arm out of the swaddle, and that might work for you. Just curious, lots of people are saying my child is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks old. How early is it to introduce a routine? How early is too early to introduce a routine? We were told that at that age they're just a bit early to have a routine. What's your opinion on that?
This is certainly just my opinion. So, you know, again, it's how I did with my babies, and I read books back in the day. For me, it's never too early. And I don't mean that like strict.
Sorry, I just got to keep talking, Donna. I just got to
keep going. I don't mean like strict routine. I mean, for example, when they're newborns, having a little bit of a routine of regular feed. So getting your breast milk up and everything. But I actually did do a 3-hour cycle during the day. Hello, Molly. Did she just wake up from sleep?
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Pretty girl. Hello. Good girl, sleeping. Yeah, I was just saying, for me, I think nothing's too early for routine. And it doesn't, when people say routine, they get really up, like they don't want it. But it's really flexible. And I think having a little bit of an idea and being their sort of guide and teacher makes them feel safe as well. So meaning that when they're little, it would be just regular feeds, 2 to 3 hourly. The routine being that they're only awake for 45 minutes to an hour, that sort of routine. That's it. Trying to practice in the bassinet a bit. That kind of routine. So maybe a cue for them for bedtime. That kind of thing, like a really gentle routine. So really as early as you can.
She seems to. Sorry.
That's so funny. Oh, there you are again.
They seem to find their own routine a little bit too. I think that seems to have been my experience. Lots of people saying 4 months sleep regression. Let's talk about that. Or some people say progression, because it shows that they're learning. What do we do? Does it exist? What does it mean?
Yes.
How do you get through it?
Okay, so again, this is just my personal. There's knowledge about it, but it absolutely happens. But I definitely think it's a progression, not a regression. So what can happen when I'm working with babies at 4 months of age? They'll still be grumpy during the day, and it may affect their nights. But once they've mastered being able to come in and out of sleep cycles, so basically, those sort of things of no dummy, no feeding to sleep, all of those sort of things, then the regression doesn't hit as hard during sleep. It might hit during the day. But all you've got to do, the hardest thing is, it's a real thing, you've got to support them and try and allow them to do a little bit of, always be there for them, but allow them to possibly figure out how to do it themselves a little bit. So, so Heidi's just said she called at the 4-month regression. So, Heidi, Memphis was 4 months and waking 15 times a night. So, Yeah, it was a lot. And so what I look at, again, as a sleep specialist, is trying to be there and support the babies to be able to come in and out of sleep cycles without being aided. So there's a lot to that, but the 4-month regression hits hard because of that. So we got Memphis sleeping really well, really quickly once we really delved into what was going on, and they were always there for him. And now he, is a great sleeper. So the 4-month regression can come and go, but often it comes and doesn't go.
Oh God! Yes, someone was just saying that they went through it at 7.5 months. Okay, yeah. How do you teach a child to self-soothe then? It's a very hard thing to say, self-soothe, but yes. An even harder thing to do.
Yes, it absolutely is. And again, there's so much involved with it, but again, the best way to explain it in a nutshell is be there for them. Be there for them. You can pick up, calm them down, put them back down. Whatever age they are, over 3 months and over, is just know they're not. So, for example, you were saying breastfeeding, right? She loves it and you love it, and that's fantastic. But you might get to a point where you're like, you know what, I'd like to try and help her. So, again, you'd practice. Whenever you sort of implement something new, you want to do it at night time, so you have some of that melatonin, but you just have to help them. So intermittent, so sitting there with them, rubbing their head or belly, or holding their hand, or being the parental loving, calming support as they're trying to learn a new skill. It's hard to wrap that up, but it's a new skill. It's a biological need that they absolutely need. We all need it for survival. But whenever you get to the point where you think, you know what, I really want to support my bubs to be able to do it, you parent them through that. You parent them through that, and you offer the parental loving support as they're trying to do it unaided.
Okay. Well, one of the things that people people are using to help with that soothing process is a dummy. Elle was asking, at what age should we take away the dummy? We haven't used a dummy yet, but there are certainly some nights where I've considered it. What is your advice to Elle in terms of taking away the dummy?
So again, that's a tricky one. I had dummies with my babies, loved it, but in regards to if it's not working and they're waiting a lot, cold turkey is the best way, which is really awful, but you've got to be there for them. They're not going to like it because that's, again, that's how they get to sleep. That sucking association is very, very strong for sleep. So they need to suck to sleep, and then they go into the deep stage of sleep, and then they come into the lighter stage and the dummy's popped out, they're going to wake up. So if that's happening during the night, then cold turkey is the best way, which is really awful, but you've got to be there with them. Again, picking them up, letting them know it's okay, putting them back down, holding hands with them, whatever age they are, giving them their teddy, always being there for them when something new is happening. So it's a tricky one, because if the dummy's working, don't take it away. My daughters had them till they were 3 because they didn't have sleep issues, but one started to get buck teeth. So we had to take it away. So it's a real personal thing, really. They're fantastic for soothing, but they can affect sleep for sure if they keep popping out and the baby keeps waking.
And then you've got to go through it on the other end as well. Lots of questions about wake windows. And I think when Molly was little, she didn't sleep that much during the day. And I was of the opinion, well, the trade-off is she sleeps well at night. Awesome. Is that a myth? Does it matter if they don't sleep that much during the day?
Again, there's a lot of research done on this, and it's science-based biological stuff. It is better for them to sleep in the day for night. But again, if it's working, great, awesome, just run with it. But what happens as they get a bit older, it might start to impact the night. It might not, but babies do need to sleep during the day. There's lots of, obviously, very broad wake windows, but the other thing too, which is very interesting as they get bigger, if you get too much far past their wake window, and every baby's a little bit different, then cortisol can incorrectly fire, and that gives them the second wind. So when they're a little bit bigger, you can see it. You know, they might be on the couch like a bit drowsy, and then they're like, woohoo, party time. So that can happen in babies too. So if you miss that window, then it's very hard for them to settle because they have that little surge of cortisol. So and often babies,
it's like adults. I guess it's what adults do when you're out and about and you kind of think, oh, I'm tired, and then you can actually, like, you're at a nightclub and you get a second wind, and you're like, I can stay here till 3 o'clock in the morning. Woo-hoo.
That's right, exactly. And when you go to bed at night and you're awake.
Jade was just asking about, Shauna was just asking about those sort of express bottle feeds before bed or the formula feeds before bed. What do you recommend? The amount for that last feed? Does it matter if it's formula or breast milk? Does one ensure a better night's sleep? What's your advice there?
I think it's a great idea, and that's more for practice for them to have a bottle. So, for example, this day and age, majority of mums have to work or have to go back to work, sadly. So it gives them the flexibility that, you know, if they have to go back to work, they can have the bottle. And so expressed or formula doesn't really matter, I don't think. I think it's more the practice on the bottle. And I think the sooner that you do that, because what happens often is mums do that and then do it for the first month and go, oh, they know how to take a bottle, and then have a break and then try it 4 months of age and they refuse. So that's my thought process of it. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it's good for sort of anxiety for mums if they're breastfeeding, particularly, that they can see they've had a really good bottle at the end of the night, end of the day before they go to bed. So I think it's a really great thing. And it doesn't really matter if it's breast formula.
Yeah, look, we someone asked before when we started using formula. On the advice of our midwife, we started using it from the beginning, and that meant that she took a bottle from the beginning as well. Obviously, that's not for everyone, but then also I found that I had kind of, even though I was still breastfeeding a lot, I ended up having some supply issues. So it's been actually really good for us that we used the bottle early on, because it just really took out the stress, I think. And we'll go into that another time. There's so much sort of pent up angst with breastfeeding and that kind of thing. But yeah, from my perspective and for us, it really helped. Yeah. Lots of other questions from Facebook. We'll try and get through as many as we can. Can a 4-month sleep regression start early? From Erica.
Yes, it can. I think it can. It's hard because maybe a week or so before, but yes, it can. It definitely can. But it usually is clockwork around the 4 months, but usually about a week or so before can, definitely. And if you're seeing big changes that are drastic, then yeah, it would be it. I reckon even between the 3 and 4 months of age,
This person asked, my 6-year-old seems to sleep so long during the day. What's normal and what's not in terms of sleeping and napping during the day? And I think you actually put up some really good advice. We might put it up on Instagram about sleep windows, because it's really hard to speak to different cases because
that's right.
Every age is different, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it is science, it's biological. So, when I work with clients, I could have, 6-7-month-old girls start the same night. And so we have the science-based age wake window, which would be approximately 2.5 hours. But then when you start working, I work with them, they're all very different babies. So one might need 2 hours, one might need 2 hours 45, but it's only very small windows around that age-appropriate time. So what was that 6-month-old? Oh, the question. So let's base this on that. So a 6-month-old would be about, it could be anything, again, this is a big range, from 2 to 2.5, usually 2.5 to 2 hours 45, but sometimes when they're not sleeping that well at night, they're closer to the 2. That's sort of least percentage. But yeah, 2.5-ish. So wake windows. So, she was talking about how much to nap. If the baby is sleeping well at night and sleeping well during the day, that's awesome. But what we want to look at for a 6-month-old is, again, these are really broad times because people worry that they're not having enough, but about 3 to 4 hours max of sleep time. So that would be 3 naps in the day, and what we'd be looking at normally would be 2 good naps of 1.5 hours to 2 hours, and that third nap about 30 minutes. Hope that.
What about the good nighttime routine? Is it the bath? Is it reading a story? Turning the lights down, turning the TV off? What can you recommend to create a good...
so whatever you like as a family to do, but what you're doing is you're cueing them and repetition that it's time to go to sleep. So for nighttime, it would be a bath, some wind down time, a book or singing a song, and then into bed. So it doesn't have to go on for too long. People like to massage, that's nice. People like to massage. That can be part of it too. Some babies don't like books, so I just go, well, sing. Like whatever it is with the routine, do this, whatever you like as a family, but do the same. So then if anybody else is ever looking after your bubs or you're not there and dad's doing it, dad does the same thing, and then they know that it's going to bed. So it doesn't have to last for long, just something nice. Even at this age, at 3 months, you can introduce a book, which is nice.
Yeah.
And even going into naps, I would recommend a little bit of a routine too.
They actually genuinely seem to respond to it, even with books. And even if some good advice I was given is if you don't feel like early on reading a book to them, you can just read whatever you're reading out aloud, like the newspaper or a book that you're in the middle of, because it won't matter to them what it is at that stage. They're just keen to hear your voice and keen to hear that. Lots of people are asking about transitioning to a cot. What age do you recommend doing that? I mean, she's still in a bassinet in our room at the moment,
and that's quite big though, aren't they?
Pardon?
They're quite big though, aren't they, the Snoo?
Yes, yeah, and she's in there till she's 6 months. But I will have to go back to work in a month and a half or so, so I'll have to transition her at some point. So, what are your suggestions for transitioning to a cot?
Again, dependent on the bassinet, because some are really small, some are bigger. The Snoo's quite big. So Snoo, I reckon, would be about 6 months. It's about 4 months. 4 months, 3 to 4 months, depending on baby, because some babies aren't that big and they're quite happy in there. But the 4 months, to 5 months, they start and get them in the cot. They really like the space. So if they're starting to touch the edges or scratch doing something with touching the edges is probably the time to put them in the cot.
Okay. And a lot of people are asking too about the process of teaching self-soothing and listening to them, having to listen to them cry, which I find so hard because she doesn't actually cry that much. So I found it quite confronting to go through that process of just kind of watching her cry it out. Yeah. How long should that last for? Do you have to do that?
Oh, it's so hard because I know people are saying no cry it out ways of doing this, but I don't understand that, because if something changes in a baby's life, if the same routine and they don't cry and you're stopping them crying at every time they cry, which is fine, then when it changes, that's their voice. That's their voice telling you, well, I don't really like this. What's going on? I don't classify what I do cry it out. I classify cry it out as when you leave the room, but that's, again, personal for what I think. If you don't want to do it, you just don't do it. It gets to the point where people are completely exhausted, and it is, like I said, a biological need that they go, right, okay, we have to parent this, and so you have to always be there. So I'm never minimalising crying because it's awful and I could never leave my babies, but sleep is really important. So what comes with that is you pick them up, you calm them down, you walk around, you stop the cry, you get the crying stopped, and you put them down again, hands on, so you're providing that support. I also liken it to because my kids are a bit older, well, a lot older actually, and I've been through so much as a parent, and I've cried a lot, but it were things that I knew were important for them and good for them, but I didn't like doing it. And one of those is vaccinations. I know that's a big thing not to talk about, but I hated the vaccinations, but I still did it because I knew it was the right thing for our family. And I liken it a bit to that. So no one likes crying. It's awful. But change is always going to be a bit of crying. So it's only when you're ready and you offer support through that, and calm and loving support when you have to do it.
Elle just commented and said the crying hurts her heart. I'm a little bit the same, but yeah, I think I might need the support. She won't.
Does.
Tammy said the routine that I mentioned with the feed at 10 p.m. Can I ask where it's from? That's recommended by a midwife that I've been reading, and she helped us a lot in the early days, called Midwife Kath. So if you do her, we'll try and get her on in the coming weeks. If you, she recommends a bed, bath and bottle routine later on. It's not for everyone. Some people like to put their kids to bed earlier. It's really worked for us in the early days. So yeah, if you want to do some research on that, Tammy, that's Midwife Kath, and we'll get some advice on that as well later on. Sarah's asking here, my 10-month-old screams hysterically every time we place him in his cot, so we've been co-sleeping. What is your advice on co-sleeping? I know it's a very controversial area.
Very. And that's just SIDS recommendation. So I very much go on the guidelines of SIDS. It's just not recommended. So I don't want to, again, if no one's doing anything wrong, then they don't want to intentionally harm their baby. It's just not safe. 10-month-old much better because they're much bigger. Maybe bring the cot in your room. Like maybe that's an option. And the thing is with that is that he just doesn't want it, or the bub doesn't want it. So he's being verbal about it, and he wants to be co-sleeping. And if co-sleeping is working, then it's not a problem. But you've got to look at it as he gets older, that you're going to have to support him and teach him to go in there. But he's verbally telling you he doesn't want it. But if that's the case, maybe bring the cot into the bedroom.
Yeah, and maybe the white noise might help for you too, Sarah, because it sort of feels like someone's there, and you're not putting her into, or to him rather, into a really sort of bland room with no noise and no activity. So that might work.
And also be there for them. So yes, it's crying, but get a chair and sit there. So don't leave them. You know, pick him up, calm him down, walking around the room, start again, you know, if you want to. That's the only way that you would get him to be able to go in his cot. You know, hopefully he's got a nice teddy that he loves. That can really help as well. But yeah, white noise, good temperature, and you being there if you're ready to do it.
I'm just thinking of all those funny videos where mums crawl out of rooms because they don't want, like, they put them down and they don't want to to wake them up. Lots of people now asking about white noise. Abby's saying, you know, can that create a bit of a crutch as well? I mean, I think for me, the white noise can be anywhere. It can be in the car with the window down, or it can be a Spotify playlist, or it can be just general, the vacuum going. When should you start using white noise? How long for? And then how do you wean them off it?
White noise is a positive sleep association. So is like a teddy after 6-7 months. You can introduce it straight away. It has to be constant. So there's so many things out there like music or other different sounds. It just needs to be constant, like the shh or the vacuum sound or the constant. So not the in and out, because again, coming in out of sleep cycles, if it's different from when they went to sleep, they could wake. So it's a positive one. So, and it's not hard to break once you decide to get rid of it. But straight away, really, if you want, or when they go into their own room, or if you're okay with it in your bedroom, straight away. It's a really good thing. And it's a really good thing
Is there a machine that you recommend, a playlist you recommend? How should people access that white noise?
Oh, there's so many. I wouldn't even know where to start. But most people use their phone and, just Spotify lists, like a white noise. And there's apps, and I can put that up on my somewhere of the best app that I've found. But anything that's a white noise is good.
All right, let's move on to some more Facebook questions. We'll keep going for another 15 minutes or so. Okay. And I can tell by the amount of questions that we maybe, if Molly will let us, tell by the amount of questions that I think we'll probably have to get you on again.
Yeah, great. I love talking sleep, and I'll be able to figure it out with the tech side of it.
So Trinity says how to encourage a 6-month-old to sleep through the night. And I think that's probably what we're looking at here too, because, you know, I don't want to be waking up at 3:30 in the morning for the next however long. And I hear some, you know, you hear these kind of magical babies who sleep from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. at 11 weeks old. So how do we all manage to get to that stage?
Yes, so again, it's a little bit tricky, but over 6 months, when, you know, again, biologically they can do it, it's a bit like the dummy removal. So when you're ready, so for example, you're back at work and you are really tired and, you know, you're right, we're going to nail this. So you and your hubby, if you can, or you do it, whatever, you just need to offer support at the time that feed was. So same thing, so like same as, you know, so over 6 months they're capable of doing it. There are those babies that can sleep 7 till 7, and they're quite like a unicorn.
What if you think they're hungry though? What if they're genuinely hungry and not just?
Well, it then becomes science-based biological stuff. That means they are in sleep mode. We should not. I know they're little and cute, but our bodies should be resting. So when you sleep, it's when digestion rests, bone growth, immunity growth, neural pathways are developed. Over 6 months of age, their sleep patterns are adult-like. So I know they're little and tiny, but very quickly they'll sleep through the night. So it's hard for me to sort of comment too much on this, because I know what you're saying, and the anxiety behind that's like, oh, maybe she's hungry. But over 6 months of age, biologically, they can, you know, and that's as best as I can say it. But lots of food during the day, lots of feeds during the day, and then just removal of it. And it's not easy. You just got to do it. And it sometimes can take one night. You know, if everything else is going really well and there's no dummy and stuff like that, it's just being ready to do it.
Christina's asking there, if you use the white noise, just back on that quickly, do you have to keep playing it all night to encourage her to stay asleep? She's
Yes.
7 weeks old and a side bed bassinet. I'm guessing it's keeping her and her husband up, maybe.
I know, and that's the thing when they're in their room with you, people don't like it. Yes, that I did forget to say that is super duper important, that it must go the whole time. Again, there's so many machines out there and lots of things that stop after 30 or 45 minutes. That's a sleep cycle. So the baby goes to sleep with that sound, comes into the lighter stage of sleep, it's changed, they could wake up. So we need it all night and every day, every day. Night.
Jess just said, so what are you saying, that babies don't sleep 3 to 6 months? That's not what you're saying.
No.
Some do, but
Yes.
you
Yes,
know
they
that when
do.
they get to
But I've
that
got to be
stage,
very
they're
careful.
physically capable of doing it.
Yes. So I've got to be very careful around this because every baby's different and there's so many different things that contribute to sleeping or not sleeping. Absolutely, some babies can sleep 12 hours at 3 months, you know, but that's very specific. But what I'm saying with people watching, that biologically, science-based stuff, over 6 months of age, when they're fed well, they're happy and they're of good weight, they're capable of doing it. Capable. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Excellent. Was there pressure? This is a question off nowhere now, but was there pressure on you for your kids to sleep well, given you're a sleep expert?
That's so funny. It's the other way around. I was pedantic about sleep. Like, looking back, I had a bit of anxiety, didn't realise that's what it was. And so I had a book and it was Save Our Sleep and Baby Wise. And I had that in hospital because I was so worried. So I made my whole life revolve around their sleep. So I studied this 3 years ago, and like I'm always still reading stuff. But yeah, there would have been, for sure. But I've had really good words with my own children with sleep. So yeah, it's kind of the other way around. I was a sleep Nazi before I became a specialist.
What do you do? I mean, there are so many mums writing in on the Facebook page and Instagram just saying that their baby literally wakes up every hour throughout the night. You have to feed them. You have to resettle them. What hope is there for Elise, who just made that comment, and other mums out there who are in that situation?
Oh, it breaks my heart, and why I love being able to support families. There's a lot to it, you know. Again, when I work with people, it's 2 weeks unlimited support. That's a long time to implement something new. There is absolute hope. Every baby, unless they're unwell or underweight, can learn how to sleep. It's a biological thing. I know I keep saying that. It just takes work. So, you know, find the right advice for you, and probably get guided is the best. If you're really in that situation, find someone that you trust who's a specialist to guide you through. It absolutely is fixable. It's just you might need help because it's hard, because they're really relying on sucking to sleep or other help to get back to sleep. So what you've got to try and do if you're really exhausted is find someone to help you, really. You know, every baby can learn how to sleep if they're not unwell.
That's good. That's good to know for everybody. I think Beth Link is asking. Beth, hello Beth, it's a friend of mine from uni. Any advice on night lights? Should you have one? Do you need one?
Yes. So then we go back to the dark. I don't know if she was there for that. There's lots of lovely gadgets out there, but as we're trying to teach them to learn how to, if they're sleeping well with the light, don't change it. If they're little, they definitely don't need it, and if they need dark, so that when they're coming out of those lighter sleep cycles, that they could possibly go back to sleep rather than wait because it's light. Getting back to the lights, if you want to use them, the pinkish reddish hue, never blue, never bright, not white, or never like a green. But I would implement a light when they get older, when they might start having nightmares and stuff. But when they're little babies, you don't need light. But if you've got one and you're using it, maybe turn it off and keep it for when they're older.
Someone's asking, the salt lamp or whatever. Yes. I mean, I think that the basic gist is, if you introduce too many of these things, then they will require that to sleep in the future. Would that be the best advice on all of that?
True. And getting back to the light, I know I keep repeating myself, it's the going in and out of sleep cycles. So we think about us as adults. If you come into the lighter stage of sleep and it's light, then their eyes will open. So if it's dark, it kind of tricks your body to go back into the deeper sleep without waking.
There are questions about growth spurts and how they relate to sleep. Is that a furphy? Should they be sleeping longer during those growth spurts? I know they're often hungrier during those times.
So again, we get back to the science-based stuff of possibly not needing a feed during the night, lots of feed during the day. The growth spurts, I think, I haven't really looked into it, but I think they correlate with regressions and stuff like that. So that it definitely can affect their sleep. If, again, they haven't mastered that independent sleep skill. So again, if they're able to sleep unaided, it usually doesn't affect their sleep. But if they've had to really need support, it can definitely affect their sleep. Absolutely, because they're learning something new, like pulling themselves up or standing on, on their crawling position, stuff like that. So yeah, it can definitely affect their sleep if they haven't mastered sleep before these growth spurts.
I feel like it's only something that I have noticed in the last month or so. But what are the signs that the babies are actually tired? Because I think often you sort of misinterpret those, and then, as you say, they move through to that next cycle where they're just actually stressed. Speaking of, while you answer that, I'm just going to go sort that out.
Sort that out. So again, so for example, with Molly, who's 3 months of age, you're looking at anything from an hour and a half to 2 hours, and that's again quite broad. But tired signs would be whingy, whiny. I wouldn't put them to bed straight away, but then maybe do a little bit of a bedtime routine before they go to bed, and get definitely before the 2 hour mark for a 3-month-old. So you can definitely see the change, but some babies have, oh, there she is, all rocked up. So I don't know if you heard that for Molly, it would be 2 hours max for her. So an hour and a half to 2 hours max. But if she starts getting whingy, whiny, do what you're doing, do a little bit of a bedtime routine even starting now, and then swaddle and into bed and stay there with her and help her if that's what you'll be doing. But yeah, and then as they get older, they have more wake time, so they do.
So with her, I find with the swaddle, it really does help to settle her. How long should you be swaddling for? Another person saying there, Kaz, her 3-month-old baby's sucking the Love to Dream swaddle. I actually found those swaddles not very conducive for us because she'd kind of punch herself in the face. So I tend to just use the traditional one where she's wrapped quite tight. But how long should you be swaddling for?
It becomes a safety issue. So when they start rolling, they usually say between 3 to 4 months. Also, what you'll find, so say if the sucking's happening, might be a good idea to start taking the hand out, because the bubs might, like you were doing with Molly, and she actually quite liked it. So I would give it a go, and I would give it a go at night. So maybe one arm out, soonish if the bubs is 3 months of age. So, but it really becomes a safety issue. As soon as they start rolling or getting on their side, you've got to get their arms out.
And so then would a sleep sack be useful at that point?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always recommend a sleep sack, even in summer, like a 0.5 TOG, or like just a sheet-like one from Kmart, because what happens is it gets to winter and they need to be in a sack, and if you haven't had one in summer, they're not going to want to go in one in winter, and babies do not stay on the blankets. They just don't. So they don't stay on the blankets until they're like 5 or 6, even older. So yeah, always a suit, always.
And as the weather changes now, for those of us, who have newborns and haven't had to deal with that transition to winter and sleeping, what should the babies be sleeping in overnight?
Again, it's obviously this is Australia-wide, if not worldwide. Again, there's lots of charts out there about that. So really what I look at is the room temp. So if you can keep the room temp quite constant, 20 to 24-ish, then that's really good. But, so for now, maybe a Bonds onesie with a one top, and then as it gets a bit cooler, you put a singlet under, and then you get a heavier TOG. So what you've got to be mindful of when it gets cold is that their hands don't get cold, or their face. And so they can't put their hands anywhere to warm up. So I look at your room temp.
So, yeah, that's the issue I thought last night, because I had her hand out, and then I thought in the middle of the night, that felt a bit cold.
Yeah.
Just because what she was wearing at the time didn't have the mittens. So is it okay to have the hand out without a cover, or should you be having a suit that has a cover so that But she's sucking on fabric though.
Yeah. Can you keep your room at a bit of a warmer temp or not really?
We don't have any aircon here, so I guess it's just like we just have a fire. So whatever the house is what it is.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so just be mindful of that and maybe get some, the bond suits you can put their hand over.
Yeah, so that's okay for them to be sucking on.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
At night.
And the other really great heating device is the oil heaters, the radiator heaters that look like radiators, and they've got a thermostat. And so that's a really nice constant temp. And not too hot, not too cold. So have a look at that maybe.
I also found I bought when she was younger a temperature measurement for the room, just for my own peace of mind, that I knew that she was the right temperature. See, swaddling works, everybody. Here we go.
And that's a cue, you see. And so as she gets older and you start having the arms out, then still have the zippy suit. That will be her cue.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So that's her cue. Like as soon as you wrapped her up, she stopped crying.
Oh, hang on. Spoke too soon.
She's nearly.
I'll keep jumping up and down.
Yes.
We will wrap this up in the next couple of minutes on it, but you have been very generous. You're actually giving away 1-2-week sleep consultation to a lucky mum out there. So we picked a winner using our kind of virtual names in a hat. So if you could maybe announce who that is. I don't know if they're going to be watching, but we'll definitely put their name on Instagram
super
as well.
Exciting.
Who is the winner?
The winner is Brookie Lee SY. So Brookie Leesey.
Excellent. All right. Well, congratulations, Brookie.
Yeah, congratulations. I'll contact you.
A 2-week sleep consultation with Donna, and she'll be able to help you through all the individual questions. Obviously, it's quite hard to generalise the different ages and for everybody. So.
Oh, she's there. She's won. She's coming out. Yay! I'll contact you.
So, we so appreciate you giving us, the general advice that you have. I know, as Heidi was saying, you've been such a huge help to her. So it's nice to have you on speed dial for all the mums out there who perhaps don't have access, to all of the services they normally would.
Absolutely.
So, if there's any proof we needed in the pudding that you're good at, stop it.
She's very relaxed. She's really there.
You're making a liar out of me. I just have to have a real-time kind of countdown as to when she actually goes to sleep. But Donna, thank you so much. Thank you for persevering, everybody, with the technical issues.
I'm so sorry. That was so my fault. Apologies. For
me moving my phone around and all the rest of it. This Instagram Live will be on our Facebook page for the next 24 hours or so. And you can also watch it here, and we'll be back. What is it? Thursday. I lost track. My table Easter. Have a happy Easter, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.